Good evening. You're watching Red Pill 78, the corruption detector. I've got one more video for you tonight. This is a roundabout follow-up on my report the other night of arrests taking place at banks related to the Panama Papers. So this is a publication called The Daily Crusader. I just discovered them today, and I already love them. Here is the first part of a three-part story. This is from November 18th, 2018. And this story, you can see the title right there. I don't want to say it out loud because I don't want to get flagged by YouTube. But you can see that it's about indictments, exposing the cabal, about to be rounded up. So the story here talks about indictments that were leaked by the DOJ earlier in the second week or third week in November, and reveal that perhaps one of our favorite pizza-related conspiracies from a couple of years ago is about to be rolled up like a fine dough. To begin with, please notice the crimes listed below. 50 U.S.C. 1701 and 50 U.S.C. 1702. These are codes that relate to the president's use of authority under extreme conditions, times at which the United States is at a very dangerous, tenuous situation, both of which can be ordered investigated by the President of the United States or his attorneys. Now, please notice the second PRTT order listed in the photo below requests 3 email accounts serviced by Endurance International Group. This name will be extremely important. So here's the docket. It lists the information we just talked about. Application for order authorizing the installation and use of a pen register, trap, and trace, and caller identification services filed in the United States of America. So these are a couple of different orders. Now, those anons of you who have been with the Daily Crusader, that's not me because I just found them, since 2016 will remember the hack of WeThePizza.com. This is something that I did hear about at the time, however. So an anon on 4chan who was alleged to have hacked the Wi-Fi of We the Pizza found out that they were operating a server in a back room, and on the back end of WeThePizza.com, he was alleged to have gone in and discovered lots and lots of, shall we say, horrible, horrible things, crimes against children. Apparently, 2 of his friends that were involved in the hack got murdered, and he had this cloned hard drive. He didn't know what to do with it. And let's see. So they take a look at WeThePizza.com and then find that it is directly connected to the Endurance International Group, the company, the organization that is directly tied in to this wiretap up here. That is extremely exciting stuff. All right, so here's a follow-up from November 19th, where the author of this article found that in Austin, Texas, the address of Endurance International Group's headquarters. Look at that. You look at it on Google Maps, and there is a place next door called House of Torment. Like, what? This reminds me of John Podesta's Pizza Mansion out in Bohemian Grove. Endurance International Group's Utah headquarters is 222 Main Street, Suite 200, Salt Lake City, Utah. And guess who shares that building? Goldman Sachs, or as they say in other words, the Latter-day Church of Saints and the CIA. I can't comment on that. I'm not aware of the CIA connections to the LDS. Now, 3 thoughts. No, that's it. That is the end of this story. Okay, so that's the end of part 1. Now, we go on to part 2 here, and this is from the 19th. DOJ indictments seem to lead back to Las Vegas shootings. Pizza-related conspiracy. Are those 2 events related? As we reported yesterday, the leaked indictments by the DOJ seem to lead us straight back to pizza conspiracy and the bad actors responsible. However, our forensic reporters have uncovered something which seems unrelated, but which very well may be related. The leaked indictments, domestic, international, seem to coincide with the Las Vegas shootings. For one, the date of the period begins 1st of October 2017. However, the first indictment comes from 3rd of October 2017. The Fed had no indictments for 2 days, or did the government of Saudi Arabia begin investigating right after the shooting and request assistance from the U.S. Fed on the 3rd? Remember that the Las Vegas shooting occurred on October 1st, 2017, as I'm sure we all remember. The DOJ separating the indictments into domestic and international requests most certainly seems to be a message to us, and that message seems to clearly be, extrapolating from dates, that Saudi Arabia is the nation who requested our assistance. Another odd one to the notice are the final domestic wiretaps requested are for 18 U.S.C. 1001 and 18 U.S.C. 1512. Both together, first is for fraud, second is for witness tampering. Makes one wonder if they are related to the missing witnesses. The two indictments next to these, 50 U.S.C. 1705, which can only be investigated by POTUS or his attorneys and is a national emergency crime, and 21 U.S.C. 846, conspiracy, most certainly leads credence to this theory. These indictments are related to Pizzagate. Oh, I said it. And it's related, that in itself is related to the Las Vegas shooting. And Saudi Arabia requested assistance from our government and perhaps vice versa as well. What will come of these indictments? Will the cabal be rounded up? Will Saudi Arabia emerge stronger and unzogged and help us purge Israel? Only time will tell, but we at Daily Crusader believe the answer is an emphatic yes. Here's an update. To add to the theory, let's go back in time to the shooting. There was an entire tower rented out by a Middle Eastern Air Force, W Las Vegas, a 289-room tower at SLS Las Vegas, which specific nation the Air Force belongs to was never confirmed. However, many details lend credence to the idea that it was the Saudi Air Force. The most damning piece being that the Saudi Royal Air Force was engaging in exercises with the U.S. military. That is true. I definitely read that from a number of sources. Now, renting an entire tower to exercise with the U.S. military and using that as covered to conduct wetworks espionage operations in the United States would most certainly count as a national security emergency, fraud, and conspiracy. It would also explain the hundreds of requests for consumer information from the Foreign Intelligence Agency. They were trying to ascertain the identities of who rented the tower, as well as who was in each individual room. Now, they do an update here, which is a wiretap for a Sprint phone from October 24th, 2018, 23 days after the shooting, for 18 U.S.C. 373, solicitation to commit a crime of violence. And the number is redacted. And what's this? Remember, there was a phone charger found in Stephen Paddock's room that did not match his phone. This one certainly looks like it was for the hitmen who were killing off the witnesses following the shooting. If you'll remember, in the days and weeks after the shooting, there were many people who were coming out that were witnesses saying that they remembered seeing people shooting from all over the place, shots coming down from the helicopters. If you'd like to check a really good channel that has done amazing work on the Las Vegas shooting, that would be I Am John Cullen channel. I'll include a link for him at some point up above this as I'm speaking. This one most certainly looks like it was for one of the hitmen. Okay, I read that. We will continue to update you as we learn more. Now, let's see. U.S. seeks tax revenue and financial records from royal family amid DOJ indictments breaking up cabal. Okay, that would be interesting. But next, I want to get to this next portion of the story because it ties back in to the Panama Papers. And those banks that had people, the banks were raided. I don't remember if people were arrested. I'll have to follow up on that. But people have been arrested. And they're related to the Clinton Foundation and Mossack Fonseca, who is tied to money laundering and the Panama Papers. Okay, so here are the actual indictments that were unsealed. The individuals named in the indictments are Ramses Owens, a.k.a. Ramses Owens Saad, Dirk Brouwer, Richard Gaffey, a.k.a. Dick Gaffey, and Harald Joachim van der Goltz, or H.J. van der Goltz, or Johann van der Goltz. And the charge is conspiracy to defraud the United States. That's count one for Owens Brouwer. At all times relevant to this indictment, Ramses Owen, a.k.a. Ramses Owen Saad, the defendant, was a citizen of the resident of Panama. Okay. As reported by Courthouse News Service, federal prosecutors announced charges this Tuesday against 4 men connected to the law firm Mossack Fonseca, which has extensive ties to the Clinton Foundation. The charges, which include conspiracy to defraud the United States, conspiracy to commit wire fraud, conspiracy to commit tax evasion, wire fraud, and money laundering conspiracy, come merely 3 years after the leak of the Panama Papers by WikiLeaks. The papers were received by the German newspaper Süddeutsche Zeitung in 2015 from an anonymous source. The charges line up with several of the sealed indictments requesting wiretaps, PRTT orders, and search warrants, which were leaked by the DOJ recently and reported on by the Daily Crusader. This shows that Clinton Foundation may well be very close to being rolled up. These charges, while very serious, still do not explain some of the leaked PRTT wiretap orders, such as the national security orders, the drug trafficking orders, or the orders related to child trafficking or providing aid to foreign terrorist organizations. The charges filed Tuesday lay out a scheme by which participants would hide their assets in foreign tax havens away from the prying eyes of U.S. and other sovereign nation taxation authorities, presumably to avoid paying taxes and possibly to have assets available should they ever need to flee their respective home countries for their alleged treason. Authorities have successfully arrested 3 of the 4 men. Dirk Brauer, a 54-year-old German investment advisor for Mosfond Asset Management, Richard Gaffey, a 74-year-old U.S. accountant, and Harold Joachim von der Goltz, an 81-year-old German-born client. Mossack Fonseca attorney Ramses Owens, a 50-year-old from Panama, remains at large. The charges, and we'll take a look at Ramses here in a moment because I was able to find pictures of him. The charges were all levied by U.S. Attorney Jeffrey Berman in the Southern District of New York, which FBI Anon heavily suggested in 2016 would be where the Clinton Foundation would be taken down. In a statement, Berman said for decades, the defendants, employees, and a client of global law firm Mossack Fonseca allegedly shuffled millions of dollars through offshore accounts and created shell companies to hide fortunes. In fact, as alleged, they had a playbook to repatriate untaxed money into the U.S. banking system. Now their international tax scheme is over, and these defendants face years in prison for their crimes. One of the clients listed as Client 3 began cooperating with the DOJ, using voluntary wiretaps and by meeting with undercover agents in America and overseas in January 2017. That's a lot of time. They've had well over almost 2 years now to get evidence against these people. Heavily lending credence to Daily Crusader's theory, see parts 1 and 2, which we just covered, that some of the cabal crimes being handled by DOJ were necessarily ordered investigated by the president due to the nature of their 50 U.S.C. statute violations. Now, knowing this, think about the executive orders by the president about freezing of assets, about people committing crimes against the United States. These were all done back, after January 2017. 11 charges were outlined in the indictment against the 4 men. Clinton Foundation-connected associates, which are related to Mossack Fonseca, include Gabriel Falkoff, finance director for Hillary Clinton's first campaign,